I went out for a job that actually had a stopped up sewer. And they said, look, it's leaking in the upstairs bathroom. It's clogged. And I go over and I realized that I get outside, they had actually ran the pipe out and down and over. So there was a clean out there. So I'm actually trying to run a camera through it, and I keep going so far and I get clogged. So I'm running a sewer machine through it and just keep hitting mud. And I keep going and keep going and nothing. I mean, it's just pure solid mud every time. And you can tell this was an add-on. This was but when I talk to the homeowners, they're like, no, we've been in this house since it was new. And I'm like, well, y'all must have added the bathroom later, or the plumber forgot it and came back and did it later, because it literally runs like outside of your house and down.
Wow.
Couldn't get anything through it. I said, look, y'all got a break under here. We actually went to the other side and dug down, because with our locators, we could find out exactly where the clean out or combination was that it tied into. So we get a crew out there, and like, here's the street and the driveway's here and the house is up here. This line went at a 45-degree angle about and tied in this clean out here. So we got 2 dig crews. We're going to dig in. No, we got a dig crew on this end to start digging to find out where the break was, because it was about 6 or 8 feet under. And they start digging under, and then they call me and they said, Roger, this pipe just ends.
Oh my gosh.
So what do you mean just ends? They said, well, we can't see. You said it was broke. We don't see the other half. I said, well, keep digging. It's there. It's just broke. Yeah. So they dig another couple feet. They're like, Roger, this pipe in here. I said, well, get another crew, start at the other end where that combo is, and dig in. Let's find out where the missing pipe is. There was a 20-foot section missing. Tradesmen built America. Not policymakers or desk jockeys, but hardworking, blue-collared men and women. Join me, Roger Wakefield, on conversations with some of the nation's most successful skilled laborers. This is the Trade Talks. What is the wildest thing you've ever seen in the construction industry?
Like a project I personally was involved in?
That you either saw. It doesn't have to be one you were involved with, but you saw the crazy stuff.
It was an electrician I got to work with. He was just one of those old school guys that could do anything. And he had to bend some 4-inch IMC conduit into concentric bends. And all he had was a hydraulic bender and a level. And he did it. He had 4 of them, so when they all came together, they made these smooth arcs that the radius was all different, so they looked awesome. And when I saw him do that, I was like, that's pretty incredible. You don't see that much anymore. They're going to go get a fitting and make that up. But he took a 20-foot piece of pipe and bent it into the shape with just a hydraulic jack and a tape measure and a level.
And concentric.
Yes.
I understand, because I'm a plumber, pipe fitter.
Correct.
Explain concentric and eccentric so people understand how difficult that really was.
So just imagine a center point, and you have a pipe a foot away. Well, that pipe needs to take a 90-degree bend. It's going to have a 1-foot radius. The next one over is going to have a 2-foot radius if it's a foot away. The next one over is going to have a 3-foot radius. So it looks like art when it's done.
When you're a tradesperson, I don't care if you're an HVAC guy, a plumber, a drywaller, when you walk through a job site and you see something like that, it's like, wow, look at that.
I'll go back to electrical a lot because it's probably one of my favorite trades. There were guys that would line up all their couplings, so all the screws were pointing down and all the slots lined up. I line up the slots on my cover plates, but these guys lined up the slots on the set screws on the couplings on their conduit, and all the couplings were perfectly in a row. And it's only, I think, one of the things that people in the trades notice. Other people might say that's a really nice job, but they don't know why it's a nice job. But it took a lot of time to do that.
I was taught, turn your letters all facing up,
right,
all facing the same direction. If you're doing no hub bands, one of y'all's videos the other day, they had a 4-band coupling, and all your bands, if you're building a big manifold, all your bands, the nuts are turned on top. They're facing the same direction. And if they're on the side, they're all on the left side, or they're all on the right side. And it's whatever you prefer.
Right.
But I used to teach my apprentices, we put everything on top. We put all the nuts on the right, and they all face straight forward, not kind of forward.
Correct.
Straight forward.
I did a shower in Ventura, California years ago with diverters and handhelds and sprays and all sweated copper. And by the time I was done, it looked like the space shuttle engine bay. It was beautiful, Roger. And I hated to put the backer board up because nobody was ever going to see it again,
Here's what's neat, and here's always my thought process there. And I love that you're talking about plumbing, Paul, because my thought has always been someday someone's going to tear in this wall to do something. Mm-hmm. Whether it's tear it out or whether they're tearing this wall to remodel it, add more heads, do this or do that. Somebody's going to open this wall and be like, oh my God, look at this. Yeah. And I'm lucky because 2 of the first plumbers I worked with, that's exactly the way they taught me. Mm-hmm. You take pride in everything you do every day. Yeah. And I'll talk more about that in a minute. Jordan, how's it feel to work with somebody like that?
Well, Dad's always talking about finding treasure in walls when we do remodels. Mm-hmm. And nowadays, if you open up a wall and you see all that copper, you did find treasure in a wall, right? Because it's so valuable. But, man, just to watch my dad go to work, being able to watch him my whole life has been a special thing. And to have everybody who he's ever worked with talk about his integrity and the pride he takes in his work is, you learn something from that, whether you're the son or a viewer on social media, you can pick up on that, and it's just been, it's been special.
Yeah. It is kind of a curse too, Roger, though, I think sometimes, because it's like, okay, Dad, when is it going to be good enough? Because we'll go back and I'll change things while.
And I had to wait until I was big enough to challenge him and say, come on, we're done with this one. We can move on.
In social media, they say, create to publish, not create for perfection. Create a video that's ready to go out there and be seen, not create a video that's perfect, because how long is it going to take you to make a perfect video?
Well, it takes me forever.
Yeah. And I mean, we're still working on that perfect video. We haven't got there yet. So Jordan, tell everybody who you all are and what you do.
Well, my dad and I are stud pack, father-son duo. Now we're a trio because my brother-in-law is involved. And we got started doing remodels. But from the day that I started the YouTube channel, and I say I because it was my idea, but we started it, of course. My goal was to always build ourselves. It was to build him a home, really, a dream home. Mm-hmm. It just ended up that we started on mine first.
I was fixing to say, you're building yours right now.
Well, you always take care of your kids first, right?
Well, that's what he says, but what he also says all the time is practice on somebody else's house and then do your own. So I think he's really... We're getting all the kinks out on mine, and then his is going to be perfect.
Well, after y'all get done with that, I'll bring y'all up here because I want to build one. I just bought 10 acres outside of Dallas,
fantastic.
Training center and all kinds of stuff.
Oh, we love Dallas.
Yeah. And y'all are coming back in a few weeks. So
yes.
Yeah,
but that's for
that's pleasure.
Strictly
pleasure.
Oh yeah, I can't wait.
Mm-hmm. So and I don't like Metallica. Let me go ahead and start there. Okay. Don't listen to it. It's not that I don't like them.
Sure.
It's just not what I listen to. So there's no bad animosity, anything like that. But I'm in one of their videos. So they have a video, and you may know what song, but it's where the stage literally blows up, falls apart. It's mayhem and madness, and it's probably 20 years old. So
it's a music video?
Old Metallica.
Is that when you were a concert security?
Concert security. Y'all talked to Amber. She is. She still is.
20 years ago isn't necessarily old Metallica. You got to remember, these guys
back then it was new, right? Yeah. Back then they were popular. Let me put it, and not that they're not popular now. Don't take anything away from, I know. Don't want to take any away from the Metallica crowd. I'm native Texan, born and raised right here in Dallas. So I'm old school Willie Nelson, country music. I like a lot of the modern country, but concert security was big for me. So I went over to Fort Worth to do concert security. When I was starting out in the trades, you didn't make a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And I always had part-time jobs. I built redwood decks on the weekends. I built fences. I also became a bartender, got really, really good at that, and concert security. And concert security is one I loved. And literally I was at a concert here at Starplex one night, which is now the Dos Equis. And I'm sitting there, and this guy next to me, and I'm watching this guy work, and it's like he's not doing anything. He's just walking up and down the aisle. If somebody asked where their seat was, he's telling them. And I watch him, and I'm at a Clinton Black concert. And I look at him, I said, dude, how did you get this job? He said, I just went and applied. I said, what do you mean just applied? He said, well, it's a company, DNL. They do security here. The next week I applied, got hired. The next week I was in the pit right in front of the stage. And we can talk later about the Aerosmith concert, because that was one of the first big concerts that I really got to
Very
work.
cool.
But then the next year I was the pit supervisor. Wow. So for the next 4 or 5 years, every concert that came to town, I was right in front of the stage.
Sure.
Neat deal. But back to construction. And Paul, let's start with you. How did you get involved in the trades, and what trade did you get started in?
So I had probably a very different start than most other people. My dad, he could build anything.
Same.
Yeah. So I remember one story, the house he remodeled, there was a YMCA in Baton Rouge where I grew up, and they were tearing it down or remodeling it. And way back when, you remember when toilet stalls did not have doors? It was just marble slabs as partitions. Somehow he got those marble slabs and he turned them into countertops in our living room. They still had the holes drilled in them from the toilet paper dispensers. Now, you didn't know they were, unless he told you, they were beautiful gray marble. But how he was able to cut those and polish the edges in 1972, before there was even a Home Depot, or how he got the materials, he just figured it out. And so I learned a lot from him. And then in high school, I actually worked at my high school, and they had a program where they would pay you, and then you would work it out with your parents what to do with that check. It was supposed to go towards the tuition.
You bet.
So I worked in the maintenance department. At a high school, you see everything: electrical, plumbing, roofing. And I worked there all during high school and then even during college. And then in 1990, they asked me to come back full-time as director of maintenance, and I took that job. It was really a dream job. Wonderful staff, and I got to see everything: road boring, fixing flat roofs, sheet metal work. And I just had a thirst. I wanted to know something about everything. And that was a great way to do that. And like those electricians I talked about earlier, you know, you see plumbing, you're going to see cast iron, you're going to see PVC, you're going to see copper. You're going to see Orangeburg pipe, believe it or not. You're nodding, and you know what that means.
I've taken it out in Austin before, absolutely.
Yep. Elevators, 2-story buildings, cathodic protection. And I was there 20 years. So I got a huge background in all different trades. And I always had a thirst for knowledge in those trades. And I could stand behind the electricians as they're working on a 3-phase panel and ask them questions. Why is 3-phase different from single phase? And what happens if you do this? And it was kind of a good time, because I don't know if you could do that now. They probably wouldn't let you stand behind them and watch and ask questions.
Or they'd be, dude, leave me alone, I'm working.
Right. And then we moved to California when Jordan was about
4 or 5.
Four or 5. Started my own remodel. I already had a job lined up before I even got there, and took off from there. And then we moved back to Baton Rouge, started flipping houses and remodeling, and then that's when we started the YouTube channel.
Pretty cool. So started it in California.
We started the YouTube channel in Baton Rouge.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we were flipping a house. I was working by myself. My daughter came and shot a little video of me and posted it, and Jordan saw it and said, okay, that's enough.
Yeah. I actually lived in Dallas at that time.
Yeah.
When I
Right
saw
here.
that video. Yeah, I lived up the road, actually. And so we were going to go see my old stomping grounds, because they never came to visit me when I lived there. But
It's funny how that works.
yeah, we started it in Baton Rouge, and I made that drive, and it was intense, but probably the best decision I ever made.
So moving into remodel, do you do most of the work yourself, or do you work more like a GC?
I would do most of the work myself, because I enjoy all the trades. I really do. In fact, in California, it was interesting, a highly regulated state, but the chief electrical inspector in our county taught at the local junior college. He taught a class on the National Electric Code. And if you took his class, if you were willing to give up a few nights a week and pass his course, he would allow a GC to do their own electric. Because all you really had to know was the Romex part of it.
Absolutely.
I don't need to know, right? And I thought that was pretty cool. And I did that for years.
And in California, how'd you do the plumbing? Because I know that there's got to be a contractor's license, which I guess you had.
Yep.
And as a contractor, can you do plumbing?
I got to think about that one.
I don't.
Can you say that Can you say that?
Well, he doesn't live there anymore. He's not worried about it.
Yeah, actually, I don't remember.
You just may not ever be able to go back.
So most of my remodels, I never. Well, it's not true. I did move some stuff. We had to put in an island, and where there was none before, and the sink was in the island, so I had to do the whole loop drain for the loop vent, right?
Loop vent, yep.
And I was able to do it myself because I remember the inspector came by and told me what I had to do. So I made a little model of the loop drain out of 1-inch pipe, PVC with all the 90s and everything, and tying in the vent back to the drain, just so I made sure that I was doing it right with the big stuff. And so, yeah, I could do the plumbing.
And I think Texas and California, look, we've got to find a way to get people into the trades faster. And I actually went out and met John Cohen a couple of years ago with Rooter Hero. And he says, Roger, I can take a Jordan and bring him in. And, normally they'll bring them in and they'll put them on grunt work for a while. You're going to be digging ditches. You're going to be cleaning sewer machines. You're going to be respooling sewer machines, whatever it is. You're going to be on something for a month, 2 months, 3 months, however long their deal is. But it's like if you show up every day, you're not leaving early, you're not taking off, you show up every day and say, look, I want a job. Then he'll bring you in and say, what if I told you I can put you in a truck in about 2 months, and I'm going to teach you how to make about $100,000 a year. You could make up to $300,000 or $400,000 a year if you really want to. And I love that because in California, Texas has the timestamp, meaning if Jordan becomes an apprentice today, in 4 years, he can become a journeyman. In 2 years, he can become a tradesman and work on single family and duplex homes. But that's it. Then if you were in a DOL training program, in 1 more year after the
hidden talents.
I caught that, didn't you, too? Just saying. That's what cameras are for. Cat-like reflexes. Literally, if you're in a DOL training program like the Union or PHCC, something like that that's been approved, after your 4 years when you take your journeyman, in 1 more year, you can get your master. So really in Texas, you could go from apprentice to master in 5 years. I've got Matt Schaefer coming in, the representative from Tyler, Texas. There's a deal in Texas right now that they just got passed last year. I think it's House Bill 1650, where a student going into high school, after their freshman year, if they decide, I want to be a plumber, they can take plumbing their sophomore, junior, and senior year. Now, there's certain things. There's a syllabus to go through. It's all set up through the TEA. TWC actually was giving out a lot of grants to help people set this up. But if you go through this program, and there's got to be a plumber involved with the program, but if you go through this program, you can get out of high school the day you graduate and go take your tradesman exam.
That's awesome.
That's a $52,000 a year job walking out of high school. That's not a bad gig. What I like about California is California's like, look, I'm going to play this today. Out of California, literally, if I'm the plumbing contractor, and it's some kind of a contractor's license, not just a plumber, not just a master plumber, and I hire Jordan, if I decide a month from now, you're a plumber, you go. I can throw you in a truck, send you out. You can do all the plumbing I want you to do. Anything. At least that's the way it was put to me. So I've got Matt Schaefer coming in because we're going to talk about, I don't think it should take 2 years to become a tradesman or 4 years to become a journeyman in Texas. And I was sitting with Brian Francis, the executive director of TDLR, previous executive director, and we're having lunch one day. I said, Brian, let me ask you a question, because I just got back from California and talked to John Cohen. I said, Brian, let me ask you a question. I'm looking around. I said, we got lights, we got switches, we got outlets, we got a panel, we got wires. If I worked with you for 2 months straight, don't you think I could teach you how to pretty much do all this? And he said, well, yeah. So why are we making people wait 2 years or 4 years to do it?
Right.
If we can train them and teach them what needs to be done. And he's like, you're right. He said, but a lot of these old school plumbers are going to get pissed about that. I don't disagree.
Well, it's like in one of your videos, you were talking about medical gases. Isn't that a part of the plumbing training?
Absolutely.
But how many plumbers are ever going to do that?
Not
like
a
a residential plumber. If that's all I wanted to do, why do I need to do that?
Well, and there's a special endorsement for it. So it's
Okay,
not part
okay.
of the normal plumbing license.
Right.
Natural gas is. Okay. So swag, sewer, water, and gas. Okay. That's what falls under a Texas state plumber.
Okay.
That scares a lot of people because a lot of plumbers across the country don't do gas. They're a little like, you got to call the gas company.
Right.
And they're like, doesn't that scare you? It's like, you're talking about running a compressed air gas, I get it, at 2 ounces.
Right.
We run water at 100 PSI, and it doesn't leak. Why are you afraid of gas?
Right.
And it's just their mindset.
Sure.
And so it's interesting to see the way it's done across the country. How was it in Louisiana? Do you know?
We had to have our own licensed MEPs, the same as Texas.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Texas just recently reached a reciprocity agreement with Louisiana and Arkansas. So it's neat. I could literally go to
Cool.
work in either state.
That's cool.
So you started doing remodels. What made you want to just come into homes now? Because you had been in schools for 20 years. And I've watched your videos. I love what y'all do. I really do.
Thanks.
Everything from an extension. I was watching the extension cord the other day. I'm like, you know what? I need to do that because, plumbers, and I used to take the old slide the piece on. Now, I did never forget.
Right.
Slide the piece on, attach it, and put it back together, repair cords. Then the companies I was at says, well, if you're not an electrician, you really can't do that.
Right.
It's like, oh, my God, come on. What made you want to get into residential remodels?
I had just tons of friends and family in Baton Rouge, and I was always working at their houses. And so it was a natural progression for me just to go into remodels.
Yeah, like I could do that mentality, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, they need, like
I
it
just
starts.
gotta-
It starts with
I
the
just gotta
toilet. It starts
take
with the
everything
sink. Yeah.
From all these different areas I learned and put them all together. And it worked great. We had some wonderful projects out in California. Did one up in Santa Barbara in the foothills. It was in a magazine up there, and they came out and did a photo shoot. It was pretty nice. And then 08 hit, 2008, and everything went. So I got a desk job, and then we moved back to Louisiana, and then building a house for him. And I've always said to myself, building new has got to be easier than a remodel.
You don't have to deal with other people's
Oh my
mistakes.
gosh, right.
The easiest way to put it.
Right. I did one where the architect had me tearing out a wall. Well, I tore off the sheetrock, and there's a big old post there. I'm like, well, what is that for? So I go in the attic, and it's holding up a beam. And I'm thinking, a lot of guys were probably just going to follow the plans and rip that out. But I had to stop. You got to think that that's there for a reason, and we had to redesign and accommodate that post. So you got to be smart. You really got to be smart.
I was watching the new celebrity makeover deal. God, I think it was last night actually. And yeah, they run into a spot and it's like, okay, there's something here we weren't expecting. In a new build, you don't have that problem.
Yeah, it's like, how in the world am I going to fix that? The first house we flipped, there was a double vanity in the master bedroom. We tore out the vanity, tore out the drywall because we were going to move everything. And apparently, the plumbers,
there's good ones, there's bad ones. I promise.
They forgot to plumb in the second vanity. They just plumbed in the first one. And I guess at the time, the sheathing was already on the building, and the drywall must have been up too. So they just blew the sheathing off and ran it behind the sheathing on the outside of the building, and then the bricklayers cut their brick to accommodate the pump. And I was like, oh.
I've run into jobs like that. I went out for a job that actually had a stopped up sewer. And they said, look, it's leaking in the upstairs bathroom. It's clogged. And I go over and I realized that I get outside, they had actually ran the pipe out and down and over. So there was a clean out there. So I'm actually trying to run a camera through it, and I keep going so far and I get clogged. So I'm running a sewer machine through it and just keep hitting mud. And I keep going and keep going and nothing. I mean, it's just pure solid mud every time. And you can tell this was an add-on. This was But when I talk to the homeowners, they're like, no, we've been in this house since it was new. And I'm like, well, y'all must have added the bathroom later, or the plumber forgot it and came back and did it later, because it literally runs like outside of your house and down.
Wow.
Couldn't get anything through it. I said, look, y'all got a break under here. We actually went to the other side and dug down, because with our locators, we could find out exactly where the clean out or combination was that it tied into. So we get a crew out there, and like, here's the street and the driveway's here and the house is up here. This line went at a 45-degree angle about and tied in this clean out here. So we got 2 dig crews. We're going to dig in. No, we got a dig crew on this end to start digging to find out where the break was, because it was about 6 or 8 feet under. And they start digging under, and then they call me and I said, Roger, this pipe just ends.
Oh my gosh.
So what do you mean just ends? They said, well, we can't see. You said it was broke. We don't see the other half. I said, well, keep digging. It's there. It's just broke. Yeah. So they dig another couple feet. They're like, Roger, this pipe in here. I said, well, get another crew, start at the other end where that combo is, and dig in. Let's find out where the missing pipe is. There was a 20-foot section missing. Okay. 20-foot wide driveway, 45-degree angle, about 30 feet of pipe, went 8 under, so 8 feet under, 20 feet missing.
8 feet.
Well, yeah, 8 feet.
Oh, I see.
30 feet,
yeah,
1.41,
okay.
45-degree angle. Literally realized there's no pipe here. So that Monday, and this was a Friday, they finally got it all done. I went over Saturday, hooked it back up, tied it in, and called the plumbing inspector in that city and said, hey, can you meet me out at this project? He said, well, I'm fixing to walk into a meeting. He said, matter of fact, I'm kind of busy this week. I said, okay. But I'm going to let you know the homeowner is going to be pissed because y'all approved and inspected a house that had 20 feet of pipe missing, and it's been leaking up under their driveway for years. So he says, I'll meet you there. Well, I'm already headed that direction. He's there before me. And matter of fact, he's getting ready to leave. He said, I'll holler at you later. He's talked to the homeowner, and they're like, look, what do we have to do to make this right? And I love that, at least. Mm-hmm. But what they think happened is that a concrete truck backed up to pour the pad, crushed the pipe or whatever, just threw the pipe out of the ditch, drove off. Then when they poured that in the driveway, it just got covered up, so nobody knew about it.
So the sewage was coming into the pipe and then just percolating into the soil, into the dirt?
Under the driveway.
Wow.
Greenest grass in the whole neighborhood, probably.
And, well, green as concrete because it's right under it, you know? Right. And then when I went back out and I told the homeowner, I said, look, we can fill this back in with this or you can get new dirt or whatever, but we just don't have dirt laying around. And they ended up putting that back in. But, I mean, imagine this sewage-contaminated dirt because of somebody not doing something right.
Did you tunnel under the driveway?
Oh, yeah. We're in Texas. Come on. Let's all tunnel in Houston. Y'all talked about it.
Tell them.
The house we're in now, we're renting because we just are trying to decide where we want to land. But the very first week, sewer backs up. Mm-hmm. They clean it out. Next week, backs up again. Mm-hmm. Turns out there was a belly in the line, and they tunneled under the house and fixed it.
Did you video it?
Jordan?
I'm going to take that as a no.
Well, we wanted to, and that was when we first showed up to Houston, so we didn't really have any content lined up. So I thought it would be a really good opportunity to film that process. But
okay, now wait. You made a bed because you didn't have any content lined up.
That's true.
Okay, so come on. There's you got to be imaginative.
I know, but it's hard when the hardest time for us to make a video is when we're getting in somebody else's way. Mm-hmm. And those guys were working, they were working so hard, tunneling by hand with a jackhammer, concrete's flying everywhere.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
I mean, they're working so hard, and the last thing you want to do is, hey, can we, can you say what you're doing? Uh-huh. And it's just, it's just always been difficult. We've had some experiences where you kind of learn, like, unless they're really, really willing to do a video and we even thought about going in after hours, but it's just not the same as filming the process.
Mm-hmm. I think the people that owned our house, they knew it was a problem, and they kind of felt like they got caught, and now they got to pay to get it fixed, and we're inconvenienced. Our backyard looked like a bomb went off. There's just
Oh, I've
And they
seen
didn't
it.
dig
Yeah.
like 5 feet. I'm talking like 20 feet under a house.
Yeah.
It was insane.
We've done jobs where we've tunneled 100 feet.
Wow.
Imagine how bad yours look. Now multiply that by 4.
What caused the belly though?
It was going through a grade beam, and the grade beam settled, but I don't see how a grade beam could
doesn't.
settle without
Right.
pulling the rest of the slab down.
Think about that. The grade beam, if it goes down, the slab's
Right,
going.
Right.
right. I think you just said kind of like that concrete driver. Somebody shifted it,
Yeah.
and it has always been that way.
Here's the one thing I've seen, Jordan. Post-tension cable. I've seen a pipe the post-tension cable get pulled under a pipe.
Oh wow.
And then whenever they come in and tweak it, it pulls it up. I mean, literally, it pulled 4-inch
Sure.
pipe up to where it looked like that. And if y'all can't see, I mean, I'm talking about an oval about 8 inches wide. So, yeah, very, very interesting. But it doesn't just, the grade beam settled, nothing else around it did.
Right.
If the plumber does his job right, if he digs his ditch the way he's supposed to, it's not going to settle. And, you know, I know because I saw a lot of plumbers back whenever I was doing underground. A lot of plumbers are just, look, as quick as we can get it in. Come on, let's go. And I get, look, this isn't perfection. It doesn't have to look beautiful. What do the plumbers say looks great from my house? But my thing is, if you do it right each and every time, these people are going to be happy forever.
Right.
And it really is such a big deal.
Yeah. So the tunneling here is kind of crazy. I guess because of the water table.
Well, it's not the water table. It's the black clay that we're built on.
Right.
Makes it easy.
Okay.
There's no shoring required. Now, don't get me wrong. There's plumbers die every year in Texas from tunneling. But normally they don't have a professional crew come out.
Sure.
Sounds like y'all did. That's the only way we do it. I refuse to put my guys in a position where anybody can get hurt.
So do you have like a closet full of supports and shoring stuff just for that one specific job? Like, go to that closet. You know what type of day it is.
No, man, luckily, we do everything with stainless steel except the anchors. So we drill our anchors. We hang everything from the slab. We hang everything on 4-foot centers. That way we know even when they backfill it and pack it, it's not going anywhere.
The backfilling has got to be as brutal as the digging, right? Because you got to pack it in
Maybe
there.
even more so.
Right.
Yeah. But like you said with the jackhammers, they've got a spade for the jackhammers that they can get in there and dig with. Then they've got a flat like they did where they were packing your repipe or your slab.
Yeah.
Okay. When they're packing that, because I'm watching that and I'm like, look, I like that. They took time to compact their dirt. They can take that same thing in a tunnel and use it to pack the dirt in.
So in this house, all the copper is in the attic, but is it common in Texas where you pipe it in, or is it under the slab?
It's normally under the slab.
Okay.
Now you say this house, your rental house. Okay. 1 story, 2 story.
One.
So it's in the attic.
Right.
And see, we normally don't do that in Texas because we do get freezing every now and then. And a lot of people say, well, Houston never gets that cold. Well, 2 years ago it did.
Right.
And that's what we've got to be prepared for that one time.
Well, when I'm sitting in the living room, there's a huge drywall patch, and it's because the lines broke.
Oh, yeah. I'm not surprised.
And then this past winter, we had the freeze, right? And I was home when it thawed, and I heard water running. And we had just moved in, but in the garage is a little panel that says water shut off. And I just happened to see it, and I turned it off, and I felt like I saved them a big headache because there was minimal damage. And then they came in and insulated after that.
Okay, so you're from down south in California. Next time, go to your remote faucets. I've got a bar sink upstairs that I go in, I turn it on, and either let it drip or maybe even just a little steady stream. And that way I know I've got water moving. It's going to be okay.
Yep.
That'll help you in the future. And then,
we actually did that, but it was the shower, the hot water to the shower that froze, because that shower valve, when you start to turn it on, it's cold only, and then it's just a single lever.
Right.
You can't turn just a little bit
And
of
make it
hot
drip.
on.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I get it.
That's what happened.
I get it. Great invention idea there.
I was just thinking that. I was just thinking that.
Build a shower head, or not a shower head. Take a 1/2-inch brass cap, drill it with the smallest hole you can imagine or find, put it on there and turn it on. See? Necessity.
There you go.
Right.
Necessity. That's what it's all about.
And personally, I think it's going to freeze more. Like, I think it's just going to start to be, I think it's just going to start to become more common. I don't know. I don't think it was a freak thing. So we're trying to think of stuff like that when we're building.
Yeah, and right now, building this house in 108 degrees, it's hard to imagine it being cold again, right? Yeah. Is it ever going to get cold?
It's hard to think about wintertime. Will this freeze? Are you joking? Show me. No, I do. I like that. So what made you want to do things perfect? And I ask people that because I think the people that do really well, even from the point where they first get into the trades, like you said, look, you asked a lot of questions. And I think most people getting in the trades these days, they just want a paycheck. They're like, look, I'll show up, you pay me. I love seeing that person comes in and says, look, I want your job. I want to do things better than you do. And man, those people, I'm like, okay, that's what I want to hear. What made you, because I think we've all got our different things.
Maybe it's not perfect, but
my gosh.
Maybe perfection. Well, let me say it this way. Maybe perfection isn't the goal I'm seeking. It's just I want it done right so I don't have to go back and do it over. And working in the high school, it was an all boys high school. They destroy all kind of stuff.
Oh yeah,
so
fun.
We had to make it strong, right? We had to make it strong and durable.
Yeah, he was over at the house. We finished framing our roof a couple days ago, and we braced it, and we're like, all right, that's good. And then he's over there the next morning
before we came here.
Yeah, and he's bracing.
More braces.
Just up there by himself, just 30 feet in the air, just bracing stuff. And he's like, I just wanted it to be stronger. I'm like, we tested it. It was good. He's like, I just wanted more. So it's every day. It's every day.
Every day. Poor kid.
But no, because he's learning, look, this is what it's like to do it right.
Yeah.
This is what it's like to really care about the project you're on. And, I used to tell my plumbers, when you walk into a house, you pretend it's your mother and your grandmother. How would you build it? What would you do?
Right.
And we'd get guys call us and they'd be like, hey, I'm out on this project and I was thinking about doing this. It's like, would you do it at your mother's house? And he's like, yeah. Then you're good.
Yep.
And I mean, you could always ask him. Every now and then you get one of those plumbers and he's like, well, probably not, but this is my mother. It's like, dude, you're thinking about this all wrong.
Yeah.
I think that's my goal, is just get it done right so you don't have to do it over.
So he doesn't have to read the comments.
Right.
On YouTube.
I mean, the worst thing that could happen to us, he'd think it would be great, but I would just cringe as if the trusses all fell.
You bet.
No, I wouldn't. I would not think that would be great. I like a little disaster and a little drama when it's appropriate, but not if, we hand lifted those trusses. We didn't have a crane. We hand lifted them.
Yeah.
So over like 4,000 pounds worth of trusses. So if those came down, I'd be sad.
Yeah. Because they were moving a little bit. So I wanted them to not move at all. So they don't now.
If it was a couple months ago when it was windy and stormy.
Oh yeah, that would have been crazy.
100%. But
those storms blow up every afternoon in Texas, right?
Yeah, but we've actually been pretty solid with the weather. So I'm willing to roll the dice on a 3-day hiatus for those trusses.
Well,
he's not.
I'm not.
No,
I had it there for 2 hours
I get
fix
it. Think of how many hours it's going to cost you later.
Oh, that's right.
That's what you look at. It's like,
That's
I can spend a couple more hours now, so we don't have to spend 30 or 40 hours later.
That's right.
No, I do. I like that. So you've got a mentor you get to work with every day.
Yes.
And learn from. Almost everybody that I bring in that has done really, really well in the trades. Even Squirt, y'all met him a while ago. When he got put out on a job, normally a superintendent will walk you around and show you the job and all this, and these are these people and these are these and these are these. Every time they'd walk by the old welder, Randy would be like, that's the one I want to work with. And superintendent's like, no, nobody wants to work with him. And Randy's like, no, that's the one I want to work with. He's like, no, he's grumpy, he's grouchy, he's pissed off all the time. It's like, okay, we can handle that. Because that's where you're going to learn tips and tricks that nobody else knows. are you still enjoying it? Was it grumpy in the beginning and you're like, oh my God, what did I get myself into? How's it been and how's it evolved?
My whole life, I've just watched my dad work the way that he works, which you learn is not a regular thing, the way that he works. You know, those guys who just strive for perfection and take pride in their work. And you think, that's how everybody works, right? But it's not. So
No, it's not.
Just that trait alone is huge, to pick up on that and to witness that, but then to see the end result and the end product where all that hard work goes into something that you stop and look at and you're like, the finish looks good, but what's behind it looks even better.
Mm-hmm.
It's been wonderful. We never argue or fight or get grumpy. He never gets grumpy over the work. It's always the video. It's always trying to film it is when we start having a little bit of a bickering moment. But as far as the work goes, I just like watching him. I like watching him do his thing. And I know that at the end of the day, I'm going to be sitting in that chair when in 30 years saying the same thing, well, my dad used to be able to build anything. And he taught me everything I know. And it's been great. And something that the YouTube channel has done for us is shown us how many people lack that and don't have that. So definitely don't take it for granted. Definitely understand the position that I'm in and how special that is. So it's been great, and I think it's only going to get greater. I think it's only going to get better.
How much have things changed since you started the YouTube channel?
It's a completely different world.
Yeah.
So my wife is center stage, singer, cameras on me. If she's listening,
I'll send her a copy of this part right here.
I'm the one. Okay, I want you to build the set and stand behind the curtain. Perfect, right? Perfect. So our roles have switched now, and it's been a really interesting.
But if you ask him how he built the set, he'll talk to you about it for 45 minutes, and he'll be so happy and so excited. So that's what I wanted to show people, is that you can be happy and excited and proud and get stoked on things that typically are like, oh, framing a wall, who cares? That's just, whatever. But if you can just get excited about it, then other people will get excited about it too. So that's what that was. And it's been great for us. I mean, being able to just even go to Vegas and go to IBS and be a part of that is just been incredible for us. Go to the shows, do things like this where, instead of, we just get to travel, we get to meet a lot of amazing people. But we get to hang out every day and do what we love. And
that's, I think, my favorite thing.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing.
So I'm 60, and not to have to go to a job, but to be able to build something with my family is awesome.
And that's neat. I mean, Randy came to work with me, I'm going to say 6 months ago. It's probably been longer than that now. It's probably getting close to a year. And Randy got into the union after he graduated high school as a pipe fitter. Of course, I'm getting him in as a plumber. He gets in, he's like, yeah, I don't want to be a plumber. I want to be a pipe fitter. And he liked it because it's bigger pipe, it's steel pipe. There's a lot to it, which is cool stuff. Mm-hmm. And moved up, got in the office, got a desk job, estimator. Loved it. Was good on computers, good with computers. And I kept trying to get him to come over after I opened my plumbing company because he had the experience. He could go get his license. He just didn't really want to. And so he came to work with me. We started with Leak Pro. We acquired that company, which is a leak detection manufacturing company. And I love the product, so we acquired it. And so he helps put those together and does training on them and things like that. When that slowed down a little bit, I brought him in here to help with the marketing, with the YouTube, with the video content, with creation and stuff like that. And he loves it. Mm-hmm. And when we get together and talk about it, both of us, our eyes get big and we're getting excited. It's like, man, this is cool. What if we did this? What if we did this? And bounce ideas. And it's really neat. Do you ever think you're going to run out of content?
No.
People ask me that, and I'm like, there's no way.
Right.
Yeah.
You can't.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I actually want to start a second channel because there's so many things I want to do.
Yeah.
Well, this is our second channel,
Mm-hmm.
okay, Trade Talks. And it's all podcast, different people in the trades all around the country. So we're having fun with that. And it's neat because, like you said, you get to travel around and meet other people that do this. I'm headed to Milwaukee next week to Milwaukee Tools, and they've got,
Wow, that's cool.
I think, 100 influencers coming in to go through their little school and training and show you their new tools. And I'm taking my videographer with me so we can shoot video all week or all week. It's one day really, but I get excited about stuff like that.
Yeah. It's very fun.
Going to IBS, KBIS for me, the kitchen and bath industry show, not just the International Builders. And actually there's 4 shows going on during that, right? That there's those 2, there's the hardware show, and
Right.
I don't remember even what the other one is.
There was one more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so much we did not see.
Yeah.
Oh, we saw it all.
Yeah.
One of my guys had an Apple Watch on. He's like, we walked 23 miles. It's like, been a great day, hadn't it? And that's about
In
what
one
it was.
day?
No, it was actually 2 days. I
2
believe.
days, yeah.
Still a lot.
Yeah. 12 miles a day.
It's a
11 and half
marathon,
miles a day.
right?
Yeah.
It really is. It really is. So, meeting other influencers, because I love going to like AHR, WET, which mainly plumbing and HVAC shows and stuff like that. But to get out and meet other influencers, Central Therm did a deal. They invited a bunch of us to Miami, and it was all plumbing and HVAC people about vents off tankless water heaters. And literally, we spent a night together, had dinner, had a party, go in the next day and go through this training and testing and teaching and play games. And it's just a blast. And you start building relationships with influencers from all around the country. Do y'all get out with other different trade type people, like electricians or plumbers? Have y'all started doing anything like that yet? Because I enjoy the heck out of it, talking to the other trades.
Not yet. I would say, as far as creators and we only really started to be in that circle this year, and we'd been creating for 4 years. We do network. I mean, everybody that we've had an opportunity to meet and talk with has been awesome.
Yep.
Everybody's been super nice, super friendly. We haven't met anybody with a bad attitude, and all these people love their job so much they started filming it, and that only made their job harder. So that tells you how much they really enjoy it. But we're having more fun every year. We're getting to do better, bigger, better things and having more fun and meeting new people. And now we're hoping to do some type of integration with different creators for the house build, with the electrical and the HVAC. If there's any creators who do that type of stuff, we'd rather have them than somebody who we're just going to find off a Google review in the area.
Trying to find a plumber, I don't know.
I know they're tough to find, especially here in Texas. I love stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's part of my deal. I've already talked to an electrician, Dustin Stelzer over at Electrician U.
He's in Texas, right?
Yeah, he's in Austin. Actually, he's in Boston right now, but he's from Austin or has been down there all through his YouTube channel. And it's funny, I met him about 3 years ago. It may have been 4. It was right before I really blew up. And met him and went down. I was going down to Austin, said, hey, look, can I come by and visit? So he invites me by his studio, and I walk in. He's got 2 big monitors up here, and he's editing, and he's doing this, and he's doing this. And I'm like, wait a minute. You're doing all this yourself? And he's like, yeah. He says, I set up the camera, I shoot, I do it, I download it, I edit it, I put it together. And I'm like, well, are you using vidIQ? Are you using TubeBuddy's my favorite? And are you using these things? And he's like, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah, what is that? What is TubeBuddies?
You really don't know?
Oh. We're TubeBuddies.
Dude, no. TubeBuddy, to me, TubeBuddy is a YouTube tool. It helps you with your videos, content research, what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong. And I'm asking about that. And he said, no. I said, well, what about sponsors? He said, well, not yet. We got a few little sponsors.
Sure.
And I started talking to him about my sponsors and the revenue I was doing. He's like, dude, what am I doing wrong? Mm-hmm. And it's like, you're not doing anything wrong. You're not reaching out.
Yeah,
you
just
don't
know.
know.
Mm-hmm.
And almost everybody that I bring to town when we go talk at dinner, it always gets into, okay, how can we teach each other to make more money doing what we do?
That's right.
Because at the end of the day, I mean, we're in business. I love plumbing. I love doing stuff. But like building out there, right now I'm building a slab to do leak detection training on. Then I want to build a building. Then I want to build an outdoor kitchen. Then I want to build a swimming pool with leaks on it. And I'm just wanting to build all these things for training. So it's neat the way we look at what we're going into next. What's next for y'all?
Before we answer that, how do you plan on building a swimming pool with a leak in it that you can replicate and not destroy?
Is that so you can send guys to find the leak?
Uh-huh.
I don't know. So you're going to intentionally build a leaking pool. Mm-hmm. Wow. That's cool.
I control the leaks so it doesn't leak all the time.
You should get together with some of those Universal Studios guys who are building those sets, you know. What's next?
My manager's in Hollywood, so
there you go.
And we're working on a TV show.
There you go.
So,
there you go.
That could happen.
Man, what's next for us? I think we're gonna build this house, and it's gonna take us 2 to 3 years. Mm-hmm. It's a big undertaking for 3 guys.
For your house,
yes.
Okay.
That house is gonna be our vehicle to get to our next step, which is to do the same thing for him, but probably bigger and better. You know, because my theory is when you're creating content, whatever you just did, your next step has to be bigger and better. You have to constantly outdo yourself all the time. So we're going to do his bigger and better. And then from there, I always talk about evolutions of our channel. You know, our first evolution, we've passed it. It was the remodel evolution, you know, where we just got started out. We're doing like, here's how to drywall and here's how to install a light and here's how to do this. And I'm like, you know, one day I'm just like, Dad, we're not doing this anymore. You know, we can't do this anymore. Let's go build a house. He's like, how are we going to do that? I was like, I don't know. You know,
figure it out.
Yeah. And we are, and we're learning the hard way. We just have evolutions. I think the next step for us is to do his, and then one of his ideas is he wants to do a gives back. He wanted to start a second channel, but I think that it's our last and final evolution of our channel. So it's more so like when we have a home base and when we are taken care of, then we're going to go help other people. So we're going to travel. He wants to get a trailer and kit it out and just travel and help other people, you know, veterans, single moms, people who have nowhere to turn. And
we get so many emails, I'm sure you do. People, you know, don't know where to turn, lost thousands of dollars.
Right. Contractor scammed them, something happened, and
the scammers blow my mind.
Yeah. These people just, you know, they get preyed on because they don't know. So to go in and help somebody would be awesome. And so that's probably where it is. I mean, just in that, finishing my house, doing his, maybe even another one for, you know, another family member or something, and then going into that helping evolution. I mean, you're looking at 10 years right there. So going back to your running out of content thing, it's like, and along the way, you're going to find something else. So
we had an email the other day from a lady at a fiberglass shower. They put the wrong drain in. It was leaking. Another plumber came in, put another wrong drain in it. And the drain is basically, you can't get underneath it now because there's a slab.
You can tunnel under it.
Well, so I just recommended a wing tight drain. You can install it from above, and it has wings that lock, and so we'll see if it works. But
yeah,
it's a simple solution. But you got to know what's out there, right? You got to know the products. You got to know how to fix it.
And one of the best ways to do that is to travel and to talk to other people and go to the shows and be like, oh, I saw that product. It blew my mind.
And what's interesting about the time we're living in now, I don't think there's been more. You can't keep up with the stuff that's rolling out.
Right.
But there's also a huge shortage of, we have all this stuff, but nobody to put it in.
And we understand that every time we go to Vegas.
Right.
You know, every January, it's like, what the what?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I didn't even know that was out there.
Right.
It's a trip.
Right. Yeah. Right. You mentioned earlier, Roger, you know, that the kids coming out of high school are making that much money and they can get on the fast track to what the older plumbers you know, it frustrated them that maybe that they're achieving something that it took them so long to achieve. But also we talk to a lot of tradesmen and they're frustrated that they don't have any help, right? I mean, it's like the number one complaint that we hear is like, I can't get anybody. I'm busy. I got all these things. I can't even make the most money because I can't do all the jobs that I'm, you know, so I think to bridge that, you have to find the language barrier. There's a language that these kids speak. And I say kids. I mean, I'm almost 30, so I don't consider myself, I know you guys probably do, but there's like a language barrier. And I feel like the money is one thing, but to talk to a young person and convince them of, it's just hard. That's probably the hardest thing. It's not, here's the money, that's what they like, and I don't even think they're that upset about the work. I just think that getting them to realize how big of a deal that really is, because they get on their phones and they see how much money people their age are making doing nothing, right?
Yeah.
But it's sitting at a desk all day.
Yeah, but it's short-lived. So I think to learn a skill.
And I like what we do because at the end of the day, you can step back and look up like we did on Thursday afternoon. When
we do it every day.
We do. And we look up 31 feet to the top of the roof and we're like, 3 of us built that with these, right?
I think it's amazing. I love the idea of y'all building a house. Okay, that's it shows everything. I remember I thought about that a few years ago. A lady, I think on YouTube, her and her 4 kids built a house. She said, I got on YouTube, figured out how to do everything.
Yeah, and
it's like, oh my God, that is so cool. And you know, now that I got 10 acres, eventually one day I know I'm gonna build something.
Yeah,
don't know what it'll be. I doubt it'll be a house, maybe another barn or something. But I mean, even my barn out there has a toilet in it,
or maybe a pool that doesn't leak,
or maybe a pool that doesn't leak. Well, it doesn't leak if you turn off just press the button, turn the valves off. I'm one of these people. My dad always worked on cars or worked on stuff around the house, and me being the oldest son was like, "Hey, come give me a hand."
Right.
And it wasn't, "Hey, do you want to help me work on the car?" No, I'll sit here and play games or, you know, throw the football or something like that. It's like, "Hey, come on, we got to go change the brakes."
Right. You don't have an option.
Yeah. By the time I was a senior, he'd say, you know, "Hey, we got to help your sister change the brakes on her car." And that meant, "Roger, you're doing it. I'm going to stand here and watch you." So I just get out there and get started, and you know, he'd come out 20 minutes later and he'd be like, "Oh, I didn't know you were already started." And you know, I'm almost done with it. But it was neat because he taught me, look, you can do this and you know how to do it.
Right.
And I didn't need to wait on him. So it's like, I'm just going to go ahead and get going.
Quick story about my dad. I'm one of 8 kids. So imagine 1970, we had an old house, and one of my sisters said, "Dad, there's smoke coming out of the hot water faucet." Well, it was steam. And he knew immediately that the gas water heater, the TNP,
overheating,
even if it had one at that time, was not working. So he grabbed a wrench, got everybody out of the house, and he turned off the gas to the whole house.
You bet.
And we waited 2 hours because he knew it could blow up. I've seen videos of those things. It could kill you. But I was like, how did he know to do that, right? He had the wherewithal, number one, to get us out right away, and to grab a wrench on the way out and make it safe. So it's pretty cool.
And that's why I started making videos. You know, when I first started making videos, it's to make the phone ring at the plumbing company. Let me teach people how to fix their own plumbing. If you watch it and you see it, you're like, "Oh, I can do this." If you watch it and you can't do it, or you're like, "Look, I don't have the tools. I don't have that," or "I'm not sure what he means by a seat." You're like, "Hey, but I'm in Dallas, so I know who to call." And we started doing that. Then we started realizing we've got more plumbers watching us than homeowners. They don't all have great mentors. You know, that's why mentorship is such a big deal to me.
Yeah, in anything, not just trades.
I mean, imagine if your dad was horrible, if it was just something he did just to make money.
Right.
And now you're learning all these shortcuts.
Right.
Now you're learning to be a mediocre remodeler. And that's why when I watch y'all's videos, I'm like you. Look, I take pride in everything I do. And it's such a big deal that we teach that to the next level.
We did a video at my mom's one Sunday. We cast iron plumbing, raised foundation, and the cast iron toilet flange was broken. So we changed it with one of the OD PVCs with the 3 set screws inside that tighten the rubber around the outside or the inside of the pipe. And that video still does well, and we still get comments because people are like, "Oh, I was going to have to, the plumber wanted to come in and do all this, and I did it myself."
Right.
The plumber wants to do it, and I'm going to say this, and don't take it wrong. The plumber wants to do it right.
Right.
They want to replace it like it was or like it should be.
With a leaded-in cast iron flange in 2023. Right.
I do.
Right.
One of my best videos is pouring a lead joint.
Yeah.
People are like, look, I'm glad you did it. I've never seen that done.
And if it's not the video, if they don't want to learn how to DIY it, we also get comments like, "I'm not going to do this, but now I have the information, so
when I talk to the plumber."
Right.
Yes.
So I can at least be educated on my problem a little bit more. So either A, I don't get scammed, or B, I can look at it and be like, "Oh, that's, that's okay."
I love the fact that you've got that video out there because there's a lot of people that, number one, can't afford a plumber.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know what? Wait, Paul showed me how to do this with a PVC flange, and I love OD's products. I mean, it's there for a reason.
Yeah.
And it works for a reason. So, yeah, I didn't mean that wrong. Yeah. A plumber is like, wait, there's one right way to do everything.
That was also in those times where you couldn't get anything. So it was hard to, you had to make do for a while. Yep. So that was just go into the store and see what
can we get.
Exactly.
Yep. I love that.
And one of my favorite sayings is, 2 of a trade will never agree.
And you're right.
Yeah. And it could be 2 chefs. It could be 2 attorneys, 2 dentists. Any trade,
you bet.
Everybody's going to do it different.
The thing is, again, going back to the old grumpy guy, look at them. How would they have done it? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do it this way.
Right.
Is there an easier way? Probably so.
Well, and that's what, you're asking me about making it perfect. When I do something, there's a few people up here in my head. I'm like, is this how they would do it?
You bet.
Right. And
you bet.
It's my dad, my brothers, some of those electricians and plumbers I used to work with.
Mm-hmm.
Is this how they would do it? And if it's not, I'm probably going to tear it out.
I've done that. I've literally talked to people before, and it's like, that worked for me. And I'll go back and look at pictures they took on the job. It's like, why'd you do it that way? So, well, I didn't have this or I didn't have this. It's like, go back and get it. Let's go back. And they're like, I'm going to have to take all that apart. I understand.
Mm-hmm.
But let's do it right.
Yeah.
When this is funny, when Amber first emailed us about this, I thought it was going to be like, oh, man, Roger watched my video where we moved that toilet on a Friday night and we had to cut the hub to get everything to line up, and he wants to roast me about it. But
well, he's still going to do that. He's just waiting for it.
I'll do that in a live stream. That way you can't back out. We can't edit it. No. And my thing is, look, we've all got a different niche. We've all got, and I'm going to say a different audience, but my reason for wanting to bring people like y'all in is so my audience sees other people that do things different than I do. I would not use an OD band like that on a cast iron repair. Mm-hmm. That's me. Because of the voices in my head, they're like, wait, you were taught how to do that. Okay? For somebody who wasn't taught, that's why I said, look, I love that video's out there. Mm-hmm. There may be people, I have people call me every day, look, I need to fix something, but I can't afford this. What are my options? Mm. Okay, let me rethink this and look at it a different way. I think that's phenomenal. And it's not my job to roast anybody. Now, don't get me wrong, if I see a shoddy plumbing video online,
we've seen
I
some,
may do some
little roast
plumber
from you,
reviews. Yeah. But that's normally Fred, the home remodeling guy, or not home, let's call him a handyman.
Sure.
Yeah.
Is in a house working on a water line. It floods under the cabinet, and he's still under there trying, how do I push this stop on? Yeah. Better kill the water. Mm-hmm. But then it's like a great teaching moment. Do you know how to turn the water off at your house?
Right.
Your dad's smart enough to grab the wrench on the way out the door. I've got to turn off the gas. Mm-hmm. That's all it is.
Yeah, that's one of those things that every time we film a plumbing video, it's plumbing related, whether it's a bathroom remodel or kitchen, whatever. And Dad's like, all right, we got to go turn the water off. And I'm like, oh, we got to film us doing this again, because it's very critical. It's one thing that I always just, I'm like, oh, this is so boring. Like, I don't want to film finding the main and having one of 5 tools to turn it off, but we always do, because it is important to know.
Cool. At the high school I used to work at, we used to change the urinal and toilet flush valves with the water on. We could not turn the water off to the buildings. We didn't know where the shutoff valves were. The meter You're not turning that meter key. You know, you're not turning it. So it was a tiled floor with drains. The walls were tiled.
Do it quick.
You're not going to hurt anything. So we would unscrew it, open the valve on the new stop, get it started, close the valve, and then
And what were you wearing?
a raincoat. But it didn't help. But it didn't help.
Yeah.
It didn't help.
It just gives the water.
Should have been swim trunks.
Sneak inside.
Yeah, swim trunks.
So one summer we dug and found every shutoff valve on the whole campus. Some of them were very deep, and I made a wrench, a color-coded wrench for each one. And they were all lined up in a boiler room, and people could tell, all right, this is for that one.
People could tell, oh, that was Paul.
Yeah,
You're a lot
Paul
more
was here.
systematic than I am. And I love that. I've always been, look, we know what we need to do. Mm-hmm. Organization is not my biggest trait.
Me either.
It's not. And I admit it.
Yeah.
I'm like, look, I'll tell you what I want it to look like at the end. You tell me all the little steps on the way. I don't need all that. But I love that. I love the organization because it helps you find everything you need when you need it. One last question for you, Paul. First of all, where can everybody find y'all?
You can find us on YouTube at Stud Pack. We have an Instagram, Stud Pack Official. And that's it for now.
That's good.
But yeah,
that's good.
That's pretty much all we got. We're busy and focused. I mean, you know, and it's just me doing all the social stuff, editing and filming and all that. So it's tough, but that's where they can find us, on YouTube mainly.
Yep.
Cool deal. Mm-hmm. Okay, last question for you, Paul. If you could go back to the first day you walked out of the house to go to work as the maintenance man in the high school, or even the first day going in to open your own company, knowing everything you know now, what would you go back and tell yourself that day that you're walking in to your first day at the job?
So as a contractor, I had the physical side, the building it side figured out, but I didn't have the desk side figured out. And that's as big of a key as anything. You got to have it figured out. And if you don't, it's going to get you.
So you would hire somebody, or you would?
Well, it's tough, right? Because you're starting out. How do I hire somebody?
Right.
You know, and even now, we've been doing this with the business, trying to find people. It's hard to find people.
It is.
It's hard to find good anybody, plumbers, electricians. You just gotta do it.
Get help when you need it. Guys, thank y'all for being here. I appreciate it.
This
Thanks
is
for
great,
having us.
Roger. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Roger.